If you think that Christian girl movement is okay as a prophet, I'm going to be here breaking down in this video the ways that Christian girl movement is actually really toxic to prophets. So please stay tuned. What is up, you guys? It's your girl Mac Lenny here, and I am a Selah Seminary alum. I'm so excited to be sharing my journey with you as to how I came out of the Christian girl movement into being a prophet to nations, and how I realized that it was extremely toxic to my walk as a prophet. So let's get started. I did not know I was a prophet. In the spaces that I was in, houses of prayer, Pentecostal churches, prophetic communities, the conversation was, I hear the voice of God. I hear God saying, or wow, everybody can prophesy. But there was actually nobody that I was around who was calling themselves a prophet. It wasn't until later on in my journey that I started to actually watch prophets online. That was the only place I knew where I actually saw prophet. So to me, I was like, okay, to be a prophet, it must take a lot to get there. That was my mindset, right? Aside from that, I was like, I'm a prophetic voice. That's what it is. That's what everybody in my spaces calls it. We're just prophetic voices. We prophesy. We can see. We can speak life. We're encouragers. That's pretty much it. The people that I was around, majority, especially as it related to any level of leadership, were pastors. They were teachers, evangelists, ministers, or bishops. Personally, I grew up Catholic, so I really didn't understand or didn't know that there were such things as prophets. I did not know I was a prophet, okay? If you don't know and you're watching this, make sure you download the 10 signs you have a prophetic calling guide that we have for you in the description below. You can find out whether or not you feel called to be a prophet. Book a free strategy session with our director of admissions and have a conversation. I did not know I was a prophet. I was prophesying over people. I was interceding. I was fasting. I was praying. I was going on week-long, 4-month-long prayer and fasting journeys because I felt that's what God was calling me to. However, I had nobody who was leading and guiding me. I had no idea what I was doing. When it came to the people who I had around, there were different people online who had communities or they had some level of prophetic training, but it still wasn't hitting. It wasn't to the experience of the things that I was experiencing. So I was like, this doesn't really resonate. I can hear the voice of God. I know I hear the voice of God, but what do I do with this? What does this mean? I remember even entering a training where it was like, do this if you're talking about this, or do this if you're talking about that, or blah, blah, blah. It was very standard cookie cutter-esque of really understanding the prophetic journey. And I was like, I'm not there. I feel like I know I hear the voice of God. So for me, that wasn't even a question. What I was struggling with and had no awareness of was that I didn't know that the words that you share with people or even to nations, all of that should be weighed and tested. It should be to a body. A great example of me operating as a prophet, not even knowing, was I had a family member who was in a lot of trouble, and with the law, I heard the Spirit of God say, your family member needs a lawyer. And I was like, okay, so do you need me to pray because he needs a lawyer? And the Lord was like, I want you to be their lawyer. I was so confused. I was like, what are you talking about? Do you expect me to go get 8 years or however long it takes to be a lawyer in X amount of time? I can't do that. I asked the Lord, I prayed, I don't know what's happening. And he was like, no, I need a lawyer in the spirit. And I went on and I interceded for him. And I'm sharing all of this because I had such a level of knowledge of what was going on with this family member, yet not knowing what to do with it. When it comes to things like that, it's really important to have community, to have leaders, to be able to take these things to, especially when you're new to it. You just prophesying over nations or prophesying prophetic words. All of that holds weight, and God tests you first in that word, and then he'll bring it forth to a body. That Christian girl movement has routines. They're very focused on exterior, very focused on performative measures, very religious practices. And I said very religious practices like Bible study. Early on, that's great. But as a prophet, you are developing. When it comes to the words that you're releasing, there's a lot of these Christian girls that are like, well, I feel like God is telling me this, or this is what God is doing. They're stamping God on a lot of worldly things. When you do that as a a prophet, you diminish and water down the voice and the prophetic calling on your life. God is calling you to a body. If you have no accountability, you do not understand the weight of your assignment, you're literally going to be speaking out of a spirit of error. I knew this girl who was extremely fixated on that girl movement. A lot of what it is that she was saying was actually very vain. It was leading people astray. It was mixing ideologies. It wasn't what the Lord was calling her into. One of the most toxic things that you can do is make an assumption of what God is calling you to do. It isn't that you shouldn't take care of yourself. God has me on a health journey that I've literally been going on for the last 5 years. I'm working on it on a day-to-day basis. But if you're religious or rigid, you will ultimately miss the Spirit of God on your life. A lot of the Christian girl movement exemplifies peace, right? This false worldly peace of I have a candle and I'm in my tub and this is how I'm taking care of myself. Yet internally, they're in turmoil. One of the things that is toxic for a prophet is to not deal with the emotional health issues that they're going through, because that will ultimately affect how you receive the voice of God and also how you express the voice of God. It can cause you to filter. It's not to say that you reading the Bible is bad, but when it's done in such a religious manner and for aesthetic purposes, the heart of God and what God is trying to do in you and transforming you is missed. Yes, God loves art and He breathes on people and people have created amazing things. However, when that is taken and the lack of intimacy is there with the Lord, people are often trying to read as much of the Bible as they need to. As a prophet, the Lord may be speaking to you or has spoken a word to you and you're supposed to go live it out. And you're here trying to tell people the prophetic word you just received yesterday. Go live that word out. Don't just tell people about it, because you're going to be tested on it. When it comes to that Christian girl movement, the vanity of it, lack of accountability, the lack of ownership, and the lack of weight to understanding that you are literally influencing people. You're literally leading people. If you do not understand the weight, you will ultimately lead people astray. I was new to the prophetic. The things that I was sharing, it was comfort, feel good. This is what I believe God is saying to me. Yet I wasn't being completely honest about what I was going through. When I say I wasn't being fully honest, it's because I wasn't fully connected to it. Trying to live that Christian girl lifestyle was numbing me to the realities of what it is that I was doing and what was actually happening to me. I did not know that I had been molested. I didn't recognize that the relationships I had been in were rape. If I'm trying to have this perfect lifestyle or trying to be that girl for vain purposes, not really being connected, you got to ask yourself, where is that coming from? Ultimately, if you are trying to be that Christian girl, you are not operating out of the Lord's Spirit. You're operating out of a spirit of legalism, and you're not allowing yourself to flow with the Spirit. Be in community, the right community, a community of prophets with an apostle that can see you. I came into Selah Seminary and I had routines. I wake up at 5 a.m. I read my Bible. I eat this and I eat that. And then I go for my walk and I come work out. And I have this really beautiful Bible with these beautiful tabs and I read it every single day. Yet, if I missed a day, I was absolutely destroyed. If I missed a day of working out, destroyed. If I didn't eat super great, destroyed. Everything was on the basis of perfectionism. That's not of the Lord. When it came to my calling, I wasn't connected to the people that He was calling me to. So I needed to have a level of awareness as to who am I called to? Who am I speaking to? There are a lot of prophets on YouTube who are operating as quote unquote prophetic voices, but they will never claim that they're a prophet. Yet they're prophesying into people and their lives. And there's no accountability, no weight. I don't want that to be, because it was me. I was prophesying online, not knowing and not recognizing the weight of my voice. Sharing the things that God was doing in me, I need to sit still long enough for the Lord to perform it in me. I remember I had this video called Hot Girl Summer, Christian Hot Girl Summer. It was me showing my outfits and where I was going, and the fact that I was basically good all by myself without a man as a Christian. I had no friends, no accountability, just me, myself. And that was not the heart of God. I'm not coming for the movement. I think a lot of what it is that they're doing is great. They're teaching people who are just coming into the faith how to Bible study, really reminding people how to take care of themselves. But if it's done in a place of legalism, and if you're prophesying or trying to preach and you have no accountability, you haven't even tested whether or not what you're actually receiving is from the Lord, if your theology is right, if you have sound doctrine, make sure that you know that you're a prophet. And if you're a prophet, you need to be trained in that. Get yourself some accountability to help you train. Stop following all of these rules and perspectives of that Christian girl. If this video blessed you, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Catch you on the next one.